Hey guys, Gio here. Today I'm going to share with you why I prefer to use the raised bed gardening method versus the standard or traditional row method. So let's just cut to the chase here. The main reason is it buys me time for my garden. It gives me a little bit of a jump start on my summer garden. Where I live here in zone 6B at 4,500 feet, it's difficult to grow a garden. There are some difficulties in them, and one of them is really you don't start your garden until June. So that gives you a real short growing season, a real short window to have a garden. And often we'll see frosts well into July. I've even seen it snow here on the 4th of July. It's one of those places. Pacific Northwest, that is what we deal with here. So what happens with the raised bed is it's about exposed surface area. This ability to warm up, get that jump start. It's about the exposed surface area. When the sun comes down, it's warming first the east side of your bed, then the south side of your bed, and then the west side of your bed. So the sun's going here in the northern hemisphere. The sun is in the southern horizon, and it comes up and it warms the beds in that order. Plus the top of the bed, the surface of the garden bed. So you're having that much area that's being warmed directly by the sun. The back side of the bed, that fifth side, which isn't in the sun, is being warmed via convection, via the ambient temperature warming up the air, the warm air warming that side. So it's out of the ground, and there's some heat being applied to that fifth side. Versus the standard garden row method, you've got this single plane. You've got this one plane that the sun is on. The sun comes up and it's warming that one plane. So the sun's beating down on that one angle. So it's warming just the surface. So it warm just a few inches into the ground because it's only hitting that one side of the bed or one side of your garden. And it's having to get up to growing temperature. It's having to warm the entire region, not just your little garden bed. It's having to warm, acres of area around you in order to overcome the temperature that the earth has become in that place. So it takes a little longer to get going in those spots, in those standard beds versus the raised bed method. It gives you that head start. So that is the primary reason that I prefer the raised bed method. The second reason is I'm lazy. I don't like to weed. I just don't. Now, there are some edible weeds I'll leave in my garden, or I'll pick them for salads and things. That's fine. But I don't like to weed. And one of the weeds we have here gives me a terrible headache. It's called the quackgrass. And that quackgrass, I'll illustrate it here. I'm going to draw a little line. That quackgrass, like all weeds, is on top and crowding a little bit, and it sends its roots out. Its roots are going this way and that way. And they're crowding my plant roots that I want to keep. My little, let's call this what is this? We'll call this a sunflower. Okay, well, there we go. It's a tomato. It's sad, sickly little tomato. So those weeds will come in, they'll crowd the roots that are growing to my tomato, and it slows down the growth of my tomato. So what do? Well, if you come in here and you pull this weed out. Goodbye, weed. And you pull its roots out. Well, unfortunately, with this quackgrass we have here, it's got little ribosomes, little spurs sticking off. And when you pull those weeds out, and you do a good job, you get all the weeds you can, a lot of those little spurs, well, they break off. And they start sprouting over here in my tomatoes. Now, I can't really weed inside of my tomatoes very well. And they're sprouting over here, and they're sprouting over here. So every time I break off one of those ribosomes, I got a brand new bunch of weeds. So I hate those things. What happens in the garden, you've got these little weeds popping up, and you go through and you clean them out. Well, they've spread over here, and they're coming up over here now, and over here, and over here. So they're really difficult to do. Not that they can't do that with the raised bed. They can sneak in here, but it's much more difficult for them to get up in there. There's not a whole lot. I mean, they have to come over and up a greater distance. So I don't really see them as much in my raised beds. They get in there occasionally, and it's a bear to get them out. But I get them, I work on them and clean them up. But I don't fight with the weeds near as much. I still have weeds that blow in via the wind, but I don't have those nasty little boogers submarining into my beds like they do in my standard row method. So there is one of my biggest saves on the raised bed method. The other thing I see, other benefit I see, is traffic damage. So if I have my row method like this, and you got your little humped up rows here, where you and your water trough in the middle of your walkways, and somebody comes into your garden and they just don't know your garden, or the dog is wandering through the garden. Well, that dog, or that little kid, or that friend that's over coming to pick something out of your garden, tomatoes say, they don't know what's going on if you don't have a plant sticking up in each row, and they'll accidentally trample things for you. Or the dog just doesn't know any better, and he walks right through everything and tramples down all your plants. It's kind of heartbreaking. So, and the other thing with this, when you've got your little row here and people are walking down the middles, well, that weight of that person walking is compressing the soil out like this and straight down. It does cause some compression of the soil right in your root zone. Your little fictitious plant here, another sickly tomato. Okay, right down in this root zone, it does cause some compression. So, but you won't see that in the raised beds. You won't have that compression right in the root zone. And the dog who is not looking for plants when he's walking through there, he's going to tend to not hop up on these beds. He's going to look for the easiest direction to say where he left his bone. Yeah, that's a bone. And he's going to go beeline to his bone from wherever he's at. But when he comes to an obstacle, he'll go around it. Right? He's going to go around it. If he's over here and his bone's over here, he's going to go right through your beds. And you're going to be mad at him. You're going to throw a stick at him and call him names. And then your wife's going to come out and say, what's up with you, crazy lunatic? That's another advantage I find, a lot less traffic damage. The third thing I found is raised beds are much more ergonomic. Now, I started raised beds and followed the Mel Bartholomew method of raised beds. And with Mel he suggested a 4 foot by 4 foot bed for his gardening method. Now, I don't subscribe to that. I find that the 4 foot by 4 foot bed is not ergonomic. It's difficult to work out of. So I revised Mel's method a little bit, and I went with a 3 by 6 bed here. And what that allows me to do is reach across the beds and weed. My reach here, let's see, I got a tape measure. So when I reach out, let me see here, I got about 23 inches to my pinch point where I'm going to be pinching weeds, right? And pulling them out or reaching and grabbing a tomato or a little pepper or something. I can reach that far. Well, that allows me to reach across this 3 foot bed 2/3 of the way. And if I lean in, that's going to give me a little bit more. I might even be able to reach the plant on the other side over into the 3 foot zone, right? So that I found that more ergonomic versus Mel's method, where it was this. Let's see if I can draw 4 boxes here. Right, so we got 4 boxes there, 4 boxes here. Yes, it's not to scale.